There's so many things to talk about, but I think on top of the agenda is, I think, two shocks that we have recently faced, at least two shocks. One is the coronavirus, and the other is the resulting economic and financial stresses that we are beginning to see. So before we go into the budget issues, can we just have a broad assessment of the impact of these developments on Singapore currently and going forward, DPM?
Well, even before the outbreak of the coronavirus, the global economy is already slowing because of the trade tensions between the US and China. And I think this outbreak, together with an already slowing economy, will have a fairly major impact on the global economy. In fact, it has been just 3 weeks since I unveiled the budget. But in the 3 weeks, the developments globally have been more negative for the economy as well as for the outbreak of the virus. So first, if you look at the outbreak, it seems to be going in waves. You have a first wave that hit China and Singapore and a few countries very quickly. And we have sort of been able to contain it reasonably well with our ministerial task force, with all the measures that we have taken. But it is by no means over. So we have to continue to be extremely vigilant during this period. But the outbreak is also spreading like a wave to other countries. You're seeing it in all our major partners, and in all the major economies. The European Union, Japan, and the US. And this, we don't know how this wave will move. That in turn is triggering concerns in the global financial markets. So I've been monitoring our global financial market movement very closely. And I think uncertainty has grown significantly. And sentiments have fallen. And that in turn is affecting investments, is affecting consumption, and it's affecting the linkages across the economies. So you have these two major negatives coming together at the same time, interacting in ways which are quite difficult to predict. But I would say that compared to 3 weeks ago when we were doing the budget, I think the situation today is worse. And that is the reason why since about 10 days ago, we've started working on the need for a second package to stabilize our economy and to emerge stronger from this. So we are working very hard at this. In fact, I just had a discussion with Prime Minister yesterday on the key measures that we will need in this package. And my colleagues and I are working very hard together with the ministries on what else we need to do. So we have to continue to be very vigilant to look at this wave and how we need to stay on top of this development in the global economic data and so the global financial markets. Financial markets have been roiled in very significant ways. The last time I see this such sharp movement was when I was managing director at the Monetary Authority of Singapore. And it is, the speed at which contagion can spread is something that we all have to be very vigilant to.
Before we go into the package, which sounds very interesting, DPM, could I get a sense from you as well as the other participants on whether you think there's a likelihood of a global recession and how deep it will be?
Well, first of all, the global economic growth will come down from the earlier projection. In fact, it has been trending down over the last few months because every new set of data that comes in has been negative. And the global economy is much more integrated today than it was, say, during the period of SARS. China is a much bigger player in the global economy. And in terms of China's linkages to the rest of us in the world, but particularly to Singapore and to Southeast Asia, it has been much more extensive. The global supply chain is also much more integrated than before. So sectors which are most directly hit, like aviation, tourism, and food and beverage and retail, were the first wave to be hit most directly. But because the global supply chain is so integrated, this is also affecting the supply of key components across the different economies. And I think this is going to have ripple effects on the manufacturing sector as well.
Right. So, any other views? Linus, from a banker's viewpoint, do you see a global recession?
I agree. We have, over the past 5-6 weeks, been actively reaching out to the SMEs, particularly the small businesses.
Right.
So in that time, I think we've covered maybe over 2,000 of these small businesses. And you're right, absolutely. What started very narrow in the travel and tourism sectors has now kind of expanded very quickly into all the other industries. The first instance was just the ones that were affected by footfall and consumer spending in markets like Hong Kong and Singapore. But now it is much more broad-based, so the manufacturers are also feeling the strain because of the disruptions to the supply chain. And it's also now becoming a question of weakness in demand. So while they may solve the supply chain issues by looking at alternate sites, the reality is demand has also come off. So it is now going broader and going deeper.
Right. What do you think, Toby, I know your business is booming, but what do you think, looking around you at other businesses, what do you feel about whether this is a recessionary phenomenon?
I think that, undoubtedly the data is all pointing to, a slowdown in the economy globally. So it is going to hit us, and I think we've got to be prepared for it. For example, in China, my business is pretty much at a standstill. So we're badly affected in China. So we're still maintaining a headcount of 140 people, and that headcount's got to be there to be ready when the economy rebounds. But on the other hand, we're not seeing any effects right now in markets like our Indian business, in the Philippines, in Indonesia. Everything is as per normal. We're still coming along. We're getting contracts. It doesn't seem like the virus has really hit them that hard. It's surprising. I think it's just a matter of time, before the effects come in. But in the security space, maybe we're a little bit more resilient, through the economic cycles. But undoubtedly, I think that we are in for a downturn.
Well, we will certainly need to do more because, as I said, in just a few weeks since the budget, the global economic situation has taken a turn for the worse. And even the outbreak of the coronavirus has taken a turn for the worse. It is now spreading in different parts of the world, and it will have a significant impact on the global economy. How significant it is, which countries will be most affected, it is not possible to tell at this stage. It depends very much on how well we cooperate globally to first and foremost tackle this outbreak. And that must be our first priority, and that is our first priority in Singapore. But at the same time, we must look at how we can revive the economy, and there are some areas of strength which we must build on, and there are areas of weakness which we must support so that it does not get much worse.